I want to welcome everybody to the Daily Cheat Sheet here with the dude. Golan is a little under the weather. We wish him nothing but Refuah Shalema, best of health to Golan, man.
All that traveling, not great. It's better to stay in Barcelona and just podcast with us every day. But
That's
he had to go to
exactly it.
Israel and make a movie and do all that stuff and big shot things. And now he's under the weather.
That's what happens. You're right. That's what happens when you
And you were
reach.
you were the grandmother telling everybody Afrin, planes, some nonsense. I don't know, but apparently he did not listen to that.
Yeah, nobody. I'm the grandmother, right? I become the granny. No, you know what? I listened to Fran Friedman, my mother, who knows a thing and knows a thing about flying. But welcome to the Daily Cheat Sheet, and don't forget to subscribe wherever the podcasts are available. Also, go on YouTube and Rumble. We're everywhere. Go follow us. Go like us. It's good to see you. Mend, we have a problem.
Mm.
I mean, let's get to this Mamdani thing right away. Uh, that's problem number one. But the thing I'm looking at is we have far bigger concerns coming ahead than just Mamdani.
Yeah, well, the Mamdani thing is a big problem in itself. It's a big problem for many, many reasons. One is the guy was a champion of Hamas. He was out there screaming, globalize the Intifada before October 7th. I mean, this guy is a kid who was born of privilege to wealthy parents who make movies, apparently. His dad's a professor who hates America. How did these guys get citizenship? Who was handing out the citizenship to people who hate America?
Well, I mean,
And
look, how many people came? We have 21 million people here illegally. Ugandan-born parents and all that. You fill out, you check every box. And if you work at a university, remember, all of a sudden you're working here. You have a visa. It's pretty easy.
yeah, I hear that. And that goes to the problem of our immigration system, where for years, forget about just the open borders and with Mexico, the visa process and everything that they've been giving out to people who hate this country, it just makes no sense. It's almost like they wanted to destroy America. If I didn't know
Yeah.
any better, that would be the way to do it.
Well, it would be one. You're 100% correct. You're right. And it's also a very big sleight of hand, right? Because on one hand, you're letting everybody in from the border, right? Who, let's be realistic, terror wise and health wise, all that stuff caused major damage, structural damage to our country. But this is on the other side of the damage. This is in academia. So that's a major issue that this is causing.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a report on the companies that would flee New York if Mandamni wins. So he's talking about raising tax on everybody, especially white people, which seems racist to me. Um, Dallas, Texas. Dallas, Texas currently employs more people in the financial sector than New York does. So, people love to say, and I heard the Mandamni supporters out there saying, well, you can't move Wall Street. Well, actually, they can. There's a new thing called Y'all Street, and there are currently more financial tech sector jobs, not just tech, but financial sector jobs in Dallas, Texas than there are in New York. So they are moving. They are shifting. I know that I think JP Morgan Chase just opened up a giant flagship building in New York City, but they also have more employees in Texas than they have in New York. A lot of these companies are just accelerating that move. They're going to business friendly states, and New York is not a business friendly state. So, what's going to happen is, along with these ridiculous social programs that Mandamni is going to try to implement, which is going to cost taxpayers a lot of money, the taxpayers are losing tax paying base of companies that would pay the tax. So not only are they not getting ahead, they're actually going in reverse by electing Mandamni. If this guy does win, New York is on its own. There's nobody coming to rescue it. There's nobody coming to save it. And I have, zero sympathy for that state. So I love New York and I hope they do the right thing. And I heard reports of like, buses showing up at schools to take college age kids to go vote, try to undo this Mandomni thing. But you have so many woke morons in New York, especially young, that, are for this guy. They will vote for anyone that is, anti-Trump, anti the establishment. Doesn't matter that Mandomni himself is a kid of privilege. His parents are wealthy, Park Avenue apartment, all of that. Nothing. Doesn't matter. They ignore
No,
the
that's what I've
facts
been
and they just
saying
go,
this whole time is that the messaging, I keep on going back to the messaging and what you're talking about. You're right. All the things that Republicans or conservatives or Democrats thought they could throw at this person, they really missed the messaging on this. They truly do. When you have a singer like Billie Eilish, right, saying we need less billionaires, and she's a millionaire. We're in a world that I don't. When a millionaire could say we need less billionaires, man,
yeah,
there, we're in some serious trouble. And I want people to realize that's what Mend is saying. And I think you raise a really great point too, is everybody thinks Wall Street it will be there forever, right? All it does is take is move the building. I mean, we're at a place where people are trading from home as is. I don't know how much long. What is the difference at that point?
yeah, there isn't much of a difference. So there's, a couple of things to note about this Mandomni guy. His wife is and he himself calls for the elimination of Israel, all of that stuff. But as far as New York goes, the things that he's talking about doing is like defunding the police, getting rid of the police. New York will be a hellscape. This is, the financial capital of the world. It's also a huge tourist capital. It's all, forget about all of that stuff. You're gonna have it's going to go back to like what it was under Mayor David Dinkins. We had that experiment, and that guy was not a jihadi. He was just an incompetent imbecile. So now you have an incompetent imbecile that is an Islamist jihadi who's going to take over running New York. Good luck. Let's see how that goes. And I've talked to some New Yorkers. This was alarming. I spoke to some New Yorkers and they're like, "No, he's not going to win. What are you talking about?" I'm like, you don't see the polls?" They're like, "Well, we're not really paying attention to that." Are you going to vote? Well, yeah, maybe. Like, what do you mean maybe? Why do I care about your city more than you care about your own city? So I hope New York pulls this off and they get rid of this guy, but I fear they won't be able to. It does not look like it. We have a day and a half left, and the guy's still up in the polls. So Goldman
By a
Sachs is
lot.
building an 800,000 square foot, $500 million campus in Dallas. So that's Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase. A lot of these companies are moving operations. Fortress, $53 billion under asset management. They're moving to Texas. So New York will be the capital of financial world for the time being, but Texas can compete. And I believe that you're going to see a lot more companies move there.
Look at your knowledge on this. Just throwing out the
Yeah.
knowledge,
I'm
starting the
all,
week.
I'm all fired up and, I did my homework, did a little
You
bit of
really did your
research.
homework on this. I'm actually not that I'm not normally impressed, but you really brought the heat on that one. So good for you.
Yeah, I mean, let's just make it clear. This race is going to be over by tomorrow night. And the Islamist, socialist, communist 34-year-old who never had a job, who was coddled by his mom and dad his whole life, might be running the city.
Let me ask you a question though, before we move on. Why do you think Obama didn't endorse him?
I don't think he wanted to pay him enough. How did Obama go from $100,000 in the bank to $150 million in the bank? I think Bezos gave Obama $100 million a bribe.
No, it was Netflix that gave him the monstrous deal. Moving
Well,
on
they gave him
though,
a deal, but Bezos handed out 100 million to Van Jones, and I think he gave 100 million to Obama, and that bought him coverage. Coverage meaning protection. Don't talk about me. Don't talk about Amazon. Don't talk about our businesses. Put all your ire and your
oh,
focus
you mean as
elsewhere.
far as the donation goes? I understand what you're saying. As far as I mean, we have to look that up. But
Yeah,
listen, I wouldn't, I would not put it past them. In the past, listen, yeah, I have no issues. It's interesting. I don't have issues with lobbies, right? If you're a company, that's your job. Your job is to lobby. Yet there's only one, there seems to be the one people that everybody now hates, the lobby, which spends $3.4 million a year, which is APAC, right? That's become the elephant in the lobbyist room. I really don't have a problem with lobbying, right? I mean, that's if you own a company, this is with the Trump thing, right? I give to the left and I give to the Republicans, I give to the Democrats. I don't have an issue with that. The problem that is everybody's focused, man, on one lobby.
Hmm. Yeah, there is an outsized focus on APAC. The way I like to view that one is the woke right, the woke Reich in America, their focus on APAC reminds me of the United Nations focus on Israel. Same thing. It's disproportionate, and therein lies the tell. So,
Brilliant. You know
right?
what? I can't. It just, oh my God, that was. People are going to think when they're listening to this, that was absolutely brilliant. I think that's one of I'm jealous. I got to say, I'm jealous of that thought.
Why, thank you. There's another race in New Jersey that's also very hot. Um, the uh,
The
the
governor's
Republicans have
race.
had what's that?
Yeah, the Republicans, the governor's
Republicans have
race.
had their eye on New Jersey. I mean, both of their names sound the same. There's a Mickey Sherrill, and I think that's a girl. And then
It
there's
is.
Jack Ciattarelli, and he's the guy. The Mickey Sherrill is the Democrat, and Jack Ciattarelli is the Republican. And the Garden State in 2024, Trump got within 6 points. Um, and in 2020, he lost by 16 points. So New Jersey had the second largest shift to the right of any state in the country in 2020 or 2024. And they're really trying to pull this one off. And if Jack
But
should have,
he only lost by a point or two last time. Okay,
I think
just
I
so
think it
you,
was 6 points. What I read it said six.
it was a very close race last time,
Yeah,
and I also want people to remember to know, and this is I was talking about this for a long time about New Jersey is people assume when they vote for governor there it's always Republican. It's not. Just Krispy Kreme, right? Republican. They've always switched off, and Republicans stopped putting money in that without knowing the history of how the electorate works in New Jersey. Part of my fear, though, too, is that you've had a lot of New Yorkers move to Jersey, right? You have. And
yeah.
what happens when they move? They bring their politics with them. I think this race would be a lot closer if a lot of New Yorkers, and obviously I'm going on what I think. And so you have a lot of people that are bringing their politics into that state because this wasn't always the case, man, in Jersey.
Well, today, New Jersey has almost a million more registered Democrats than Republicans. So the fact that in the beginning of this race, a couple of months ago, Mickey Sherrill, the female Democrat candidate, had a massive lead over Republican Jack Ciattarelli.
Yeah, close
But
to 25 points.
yeah, he gained, and now it's neck and neck. So, but it's amazing that he's neck and neck for a state that has 800,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. And I listened to Jack Ciattarelli for a minute talking about, what he would do. And it was so easy. He's like, oh, I'm going to kick men out of girls' locker rooms. I mean, these are just common sense things. Who would not sign on to these things? So I think that because he's coming across as common sense and, for the voters, working people, and all of that, made it really easy for him to catch up. And I hope he could get it over the finish line.
She's also lied a lot. Jersey's another one of these wonky states. But again, I'll say this. Remember, they're the state that voted in Chris Christie. They've had a track record of voting in Republicans. They've always sort of switched. I mean, you could look this up pre-Chris Christie. It was like Democrat, Republican, Republican, Democrat. I'm not referring to senators. I mean, I want you to think about New Jersey as far as senators go. I mean, they had Mendez or Menendez, the guy that's in prison
Menendez,
right now.
Goldbar Menendez, you talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. I mean, they voted him in even after he was pretty much everybody knew he was guilty, and he got
Oh yeah, he
re-voted
was
in.
taking gold bars from Qatar, stuffing it in his underpants.
But,
His
but
wife
I'm
was
saying
buying luxury
but I'm
cars with
saying
it.
This was the second time he had got, or the third time he had gotten into trouble, and they had voted him in. So this is
Yeah, of
really the
course.
problem of like of being so blue and red. But I want to move on though to obviously, listen, I think we really have to start calling this out more and more and more. And I got to be honest, man, this has nothing to do with Israel. I have a belief that Israel will always be fine. I
Well, I think before we get to that, there's one more race. There's the Winsome Earl Sears versus Abigail Spanberger. And what's interesting with that race is that the Democrats were embarrassed when Glenn Youngkin pulled off a massive upset to take the governor's mansion there. But this time, it does not look like Winsome Earl Sears is going to pull it off. And what's interesting about that is that, do you remember Obama came out and admonished all the black men for not voting for Kamala? They were just,
Yeah,
you're
of course, and
you're
he
not
didn't,
black.
and he didn't support her. Yeah, you're
And he's not coming out for Winsome Earl Sears, who's a black woman, immigrant, educated, served in the military, all of that. No, that they don't do. They're coming out for Spamberger, who will not renounce her district attorney, who said that Republicans should have their kids shot so that they feel the pain and know what pain feels like. And that's the only way that things will change. That's the
yeah.
person that is running against Winsome Earl Sears. And still the Democrats stand by this woman.
You
So
you
it's
got to
unbelievable.
remember though. This is what you got to understand though. Virginia is extremely a blue state. It's very blue. Youngkin came in at exactly the right time. He was like the Rudy Giuliani of that period, right? Where where extreme act, just so people understand how Giuliani got in, you brought up David Dinkins, right? So you had riots under David Dinkins, people were dying. New York was as the least safe it had probably been in 30 years, let's say. So Youngkin came in because of Loudoun County, right? Because of the whole trans thing. I mean, it was like right place, right time, and he got elected in, and he was a good candidate, right? Very good candidate. And the problem is, it goes back to blue. The second things start to get a little better, people forget the pain and
Yeah.
they reverse course. And it's almost like sometimes it's almost like it's a really a fascinating thing how, Rudy Giuliani, what he did for New York, what we saw him do for New York, and then for it to shift like that, man, it's so shocking that we say, why would you shift from somebody that was doing so well? And in Virginia, it's the same thing. The budget's great. Everything Youngkin has touched has done great. You'd think Sears would be the next logical thing, but people are so blue that it escapes them. They forget about Loudoun County.
Yeah. Loudoun County was a huge issue. It did shift that race, and let's talk about it. There was a school board that had a trans boy uh, pretending to be a girl, going into girls' locker rooms, assaulting and raping girls. The school knew about it. They took him out of one school and transferred him to another school where he did the same thing. And they didn't tell any of the parents or any of the teachers that this kid had that history. And he did the same thing. And when that dad protested, they had the dad arrested. So the dad came to a school board meeting, and they had the dad of the girl who was raped arrested for bringing it up at a school board meeting. And that was around the time that Youngkin was running. And uh, I think a lot of people just saw how insane the Democrat policies were when it comes to protecting kids. And Youngkin got in with Winsome Earl Sears. I mean, it's the same people who were screaming, marginalized people, everything, and a threat to our democracy, and you're not black if you don't vote for this person, and all of that stuff are now completely ignoring this really well accomplished woman who's running for governor. She's the lieutenant governor now, and she's running for governor, and they're just ignoring her.
No, listen, I mean, well, it's back to who they are. And, sadly, listen, we've had this discussion. I'm very conflicted about New York City because of how Giuliani got in. So sometimes I think you do need to get to hell before you get to heaven, right? And maybe New York just hasn't hit bottom yet. And maybe they do need a Mamdani for a Giuliani type to come in. Maybe they need that for Elise Stefanik to become the next mayor of New York. Maybe that's how New York City, bad New York City has to get, is that it has to turn into everybody leaving. We'll see.
Maybe. It's so these are things that are really hard to recover from because when a company invests billions of dollars in Dallas, Texas, setting up their shop,
That they
they're
might
not
not
just
come back.
coming back.
Right.
What's that?
Yeah. No, you're completely right.
Yeah, you can't just undo that. So, hey, New York, this will affect you for a long time. And you see a lot of people that are just very nonchalant about it. And I'm saying this is a three-alarm fire. You need
You're
to
not just,
get
by
out
the way,
there.
just for the record, I don't think only about financially. You're talking about crime. You're gonna see police leaving, taking early retirement. You're gonna see you're gonna see a massive exodus from the New York police force. That's just the
Yeah, you're
reality.
absolutely right. A lot of them are slated to retire if this guy wins. A lot of them.
So it's a twofold issue. So it's like, I mean, listen, the reality is he's probably gonna win. So Republicans really need to draft a good candidate for the next election, which is something they have not done. Republicans have not put up a good Republican candidate, and I don't use Mike Bloomberg as the example because he wasn't a Republican. So, I mean, he ran as a Republican, but he definitely was not a Republican. And people could say the same thing about Trump. Excuse me, but Trump has definitely embraced conservatism.
Yeah.
Bloomberg was the one that banned everything from bars, just became a king to the point where he ran for 3 terms. And, people, like to forget that. So anything else about that, man?
No, I think that's it. I think you're right on that part. I think the Republican candidate in this race, which was Curtis Sliwa, is an absolute imbecile. He ruined it by not dropping out. What a selfish human being. Um, I used to like Curtis Sliwa. I thought, the Guardian Angels, it was like, they weren't that effective, but it was nice. It was a good thought. You had these guys that would show up in their little berets and try to help protect neighborhoods with their words. It was a nice thing to see, but the fact that he would not drop out of this race tells you everything you need to know about him and the city. And he ruined it. He messed it up. He put himself first. So
See, but
that's where
this
we're
is my
at. It's
conflict. I go back to my conflict with this again. It's like, so you get Cuomo in, right? And we know Cuomo. And this is going to be an eventuality. Mamdani was going to be an eventuality. And you look at somebody like Cuomo, who's got a horrific track record, obviously with COVID, obviously, with the harassing issues, fine, put that pat, but with how he dealt with COVID and so many other things, I don't know. I don't know. I'm being honest when I say this to you. And we've had this discussion, and this isn't like I want to be right, I want to be wrong. I just don't know what's better for New York. I look at Dearborn, Michigan, and I say, no, that's bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you're done. I mean, like you're no longer an American city. If
yeah.
you get Mamdani for 4 years, do you really believe that's it? No more, no, there's no coming back.
Well, one of the most vile anti-American, anti-Jew, uh, Islamist activist out there, Linda Saror, said she's going to be running him as soon as he wins.
Yeah.
So
It's Sarsour. And
Sarsour,
yeah, and for people, you should look her up. She's an evil, 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 evil woman. But I want to move on though because I listen. I do love talking about. First of all, I love that Trump is threatening Nigeria and wanting to
oh, that's
save
great.
the Christians that are being slaughtered there. And I'd like to think of ourselves as one of the only shows, and I'm definitely one of the few people I know that actually post about this on Truth Social about the mass slaughtering of Christians that have been going on there. We're talking to the tune of over 8,000, 7,000. I don't want somebody to Correct me, but I'm
There's a
guessing it's
lot of
about
Christians. I don't know the exact numbers, but something like
it's over
7,000
seven
churches
thousand in
have been
Nigeria.
burned.
So it's over 7,000 for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just Nigeria, it's throughout the region.
Yeah.
Um, it's just happening all over the place. Darfur, I mean, everywhere there's a problem, especially in Africa, you could point to some Islamists that are killing some Christians. And the woke Reich here in America doesn't say a word about it. The only thing they're concerned of is with APAC and Israel. And that's very telling. It's worth noting things that Tucker Carlson has said, and it might help put things a little bit in perspective. Tucker hates Trump. I quote, he goes, I hate him passionately, right? Or he goes, we are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait. Referring to Trump's presidency as a disaster, Tucker wrote, we're all pretending. We've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is tough to digest. But come on, there isn't really an upside to Trump. After January 6th riot, he texted that Trump was a demonic force and a destroyer. He called Trump's decision to skip Joe Biden's inauguration disgusting and so destructive. So this is
And
the
what did he
guy
say
who's
about MAGA? He also said things about the actual base. So it's not only been about Trump, he's actually insulted the base too, for perspective.
yeah, Tucker was a guy that I used to like tuning into because um he had these, great monologues and a great take on things. But the way that he's gone off the rails with this obsessive uh, take only on the America Israel alliance and the things that he's saying out there while ignoring real atrocities in the world, ignoring the atrocities of Hamas. Of course, they all do the token thing. Oh, I condemn what Hamas did on October 7th, but, and then there you
You
go
know what?
with
Can I
some
say
other
something to you though?
nonsense.
I want to say something to you because you bring up a point, and I think it's important to say this. You know, somebody said this, it's like important, it's really important to say this. The biggest thing they negated about October 7th was the hostages. Let's not forget that. How many times did Tucker Carlson bring up what was that at a certain point, 200 some odd hostages before they were all, before they either died or
Yeah,
were all
like
free?
220. Yeah.
220 hostages, right? Tucker never spoke
Yeah.
about the hostages. I mean, think about
No.
all the people that refused to talk about the hostages. The first thing they went to is Israel genocide, never talking about the fact that there were hostages from so many different countries, not just Israel. These were people that were at a freaking music festival that got kidnapped, raped, tortured, and mutilated. And this person didn't have the guts or the courage. He's a spineless, he's evil personified to talk about that, man.
Yeah. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. And that's what they do. So we're going to talk about a couple of things right now. One of them is the Heritage Foundation, which ties into this. So the president of the Heritage Foundation came out and said that, we're going to back Tucker Carlson no matter what or something, right?
Yeah, he
Um,
sort of no, he did the same thing you just said. He said, "Well, this is bad, but we're not going to allow the globalist agenda to to go the globalists to attack and deplatform Tucker Carlson." You want to know how much money Heritage has given to Tucker Carlson in the last year and a half?
how much?
1.2 million in advertising dollars
Why are they giving him?
for advertising.
Wow. All right. So let's jump in for a second on the Heritage Foundation. It's the largest conservative think tanks in Washington, D.C. They've been roiled by their president's embrace of Tucker Carlson after the conservative podcaster hosted a white nationalist, Nick Fuentes, on the show, prompting an outcry from senior staff. So Tucker had Nick Fuentes on. Nick Fuentes uses the N word all the time. He's a white nationalist. He equated interracial marriage as having sex with a dog. I mean, this guy is not someone that you could just come out and defend. I mean, to state that he's a problematic individual is understating it by an order of magnitude. But let's leave it there. So
No, no,
Tucker
no. It's
has
a
this.
good point you raise. No, it's a good point you raise because here's the thing, right? Problematic is like Jesse Jackson calling New York Town. Okay? That's problematic. Having a guy that is all the things you've said that fantasizes about Stalin, loves Hitler. That's more than that's like that discussion I had with you the other day. It's like, about that movie Air. Some people, make mistakes, right? But, you know, being a Hitler youth, we all have a past.
Yeah,
One of
yeah,
them is a bit on the different side.
yeah. So internal chats reviewed by the New York Post, they published this, show that Heritage Foundation members, people that work there, were embarrassed and disgusted by what Kevin Roberts decided to do by making a public statement saying that he, backs Tucker after Tucker had this white nationalist on the show. I mean, if you just back off of the actual Tucker thing for a second and you say, look, for the last God knows how many years, the left has been accusing the right of being a bunch of neo Nazis, right? When Tucker has a neo Nazi on for the nation's largest conservative think tank to come out and back him is not a good look for the conservative movement. So this genius is he's a think tank. He's running a think tank and he couldn't figure out that this was a bad idea. Well, it looks like he's on his way out. He I think now says he resigned, but it sounds like
No, it wasn't him
they're
that
pushing him
resigned. It
out.
was it was the person underneath him that resigned. He
Oh,
announced the resignation of his one of his like the one of the big guns. I think put his resignation in on Friday. This guy's not resigning. And mind you, remember the Heritage Foundation is also the one that caused so much issues with the 2025 project. So, it's like it's sort of a fascinating thing, man, when you think about it. Like the Heritage Foundation, which is known as one of the most conservative, is the most conservative think tanks in Washington, right? And at the same time, they got this Tucker thing, and we're seeing this weird, really bizarre horseshoe of insanity. And I don't know how you get past this. I don't know how we get past this.
well, it's going to take it's going to take more pressure on organizations like the Heritage Foundation because the way you get past it is you need to have a clear way forward. It's the same problem that the Democrats are having. The Democrats don't have any policy. The only thing they have is that they're anti-Trump. So if the policy here is just anti-Tucker or whatever without a clear way forward, it's not going to go anywhere. But if there is some leadership that gets up and actually charts a path forward with, that counters this narrative that Tucker's taking, Tucker, Candace, Nick Fuentes, all these lunatics, um, that is how you get past it. Is that
So
you
his name
show
is
the
Ryan Newhouse,
base,
by the way. I just need to say his
the
name is
guy who
Ryan
resigned.
Newhouse. He resigned on Friday. He was the Heritage Foundation's. He was the chief of staff to Kevin Roberts, who came out with those comments.
So, the Tucker obsession with Israel and Jews and money and all of that stuff. There's a post going around that's getting a lot of attention, and it's basically about an Israeli top lawyer for the army, the Israeli army's top lawyer, who it turns out leaked a video last year which showed Israeli soldiers abusing a Palestinian prisoner at some detention camp. Now, there are a couple of things to note. One is her name is Yifat Tomei Yerushalami. She was the Army's top lawyer, and she ordered the video to be leaked to the press. Now, what's happening here is this is why Israel's so angry at this woman. So, what happened was you had some guys there was a Hamas guy that was in jail, and they peeled him out of the group of prisoners. They brought him to the side. They shielded the whole thing with shields, these armor shields, so the cameras couldn't really see what was going on. They severely beat him. They broke his ribs and they stabbed him in his ass, in his butthole, and he had to be taken to the hospital with a stab wound to his butt and broken ribs and severely beaten. It was probably the first time that these reservists got their hands on a Hamas guy. I can't say that I blame them for what they did, but in
It's
terms
also
of
important
like
to note they were put in
legality,
prison. They were charged and
yeah,
put
no,
in prison.
they're in prison. They are all
Yeah,
in prison. They're standing
yeah.
trial. There was a lot of turmoil because the army sent in special operation guys to arrest these guys because they were on a army base with all their army buddies, and they were afraid that the army buddies would try to protect these guys and there would be some sort of confrontation. Anyway, the army got these guys. They put them in jail. These guys, it was the first time that they encountered a Hamas guy, and they took out their vengeance on him. I don't blame them for what they did. I don't condone what they did either. Um, I think, there's a process, and it looks like Israel's about to pass a law that's going to allow them to use the death penalty on these Hamas guys that participated in October 7th. And I hope that does go through.
And women.
But this case, what happened was because she leaked it and went outside of the protocol, which is what they should have done, which was you have an internal investigation, you put these guys on trial, you put them in jail for what they did. That's the way it should go. And it should not be leaked to the press because now it's running like wildfire across social media saying that they barricaded and they raped this guy. This is not a rape. They severely beat him and they stabbed him. And they stabbed him in his rectum. But this is not the BBC likes to say sexual violence. And when you get to the rest of the story, according to the indictments filed against the five of the reserve soldiers, the soldiers severely assaulted the prisoner, leaving him with very severe injuries, including broken ribs, internal tear in his rectum, apparently from a sharp object that he was basically stabbed with. So that's the official report. But what you're seeing on social media is like Israeli army rapes Palestinian prisoners, and that's not what happened. The Palestinians are the rapists. The Israelis don't do that. So it's important to clarify that little talking point. But I'm sure you'll see this on Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and all those others talking about it. And they will, try to equate what Hamas did on October 7th with what these five soldiers did in a prison.
Yeah, and it's also important to note she's a leftist. The story was leaked to media leftist organizations, and that's in a very important part of the story because it's the same leftist demonic thing in Israel that's been going after Bibi for so many years. Just no different than the leftist media went after Trump in America. There is absolutely zero difference. If Bibi was actually guilty, he would have been put in prison 15 years ago. You're talking about trumped up charges against the guy that nobody else. Literally, the what they're doing to Trump and they're doing to Bibi is pretty much the same exact thing, which is putting a bunch of what might be misdemeanors and putting them as felonies. And it's extremely important that people know that. Because people keep on saying, I disagree with the Israeli government. What exactly do you disagree with the Israeli government on? You have no idea what the Israeli government's policies on anything. Man, how many people do you think know that in the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament, the Arabs have 10 votes in the Israeli
Nobody
parliament?
knows that. They don't
Nobody
care.
knows that. Yet
They don't even
Israel's an,
care. Look, on October
no,
7th, a lot of Arabs were killed in Israel. A lot of Muslims were killed in Israel by Hamas. I saw a father, I think he's like a father of 11, Muslim guy, and he was driving and he was at the junction where all the terrorists were. And they came up to his car and he told them in Arabic, I'm Muslim. This is my wife. She's Muslim. She was wearing her hijab and all that stuff. And they killed her anyway. They killed a mother of like 11 in front of him. They don't care. So if, those guys don't care, of course these woke American kids don't care. They don't even know what it is. They're just parrots. They're repeating what they were told. So It's telling. It's also telling just how dumbed down society has gotten. It's so dumbed down that we're listening to people like Candace Owens, who's
You're
who
100%. Listen,
she
I, I,
she
I
would
got to
get
say
written off
something.
as like a rambling lunatic.
You're 100% right. And I was talking with somebody about this on the phone earlier. We're dealing with times that we're not ready yet to handle. Okay, we're not. We've always gone under the assumption, especially in the conservative movement, that the next generation would be a tad smarter than the past. And that's proving to be 100% incorrect. So we cannot go on these assumptions that these TPUSA kids or any of these kids are not being indoctrinated. And that's really what Tucker's goal is, by the way. Let's put all stuff aside. Tucker Carlson's goal is to take over TPUSA. So just so anybody understands that, stab his friend in the back. Charlie Kirk banished Nick Fuentes. Okay. Nick Fuentes went after Charlie Kirk's wife, went after Charlie Kirk the day after he died, the day before he died, every day he went after him. And for Tucker Carlson to claim that he's his friend, Mend and I have been friends for God knows how many years. It's been a long time. And recently we had something happen where the first thing that happened was I got the dude's back. He knows that. I know that I could give Mend $1 million. And in 10 years, if I wanted it, I'll have 1,000,001 back. Okay, that's our bond. And if anybody would ever come in the middle of that, they would go, not the two of us. And for him, for Tucker to have Nick Fuentes on, who after Charlie Kirk's memorial said these things about Erica Kirk, that's not friendship. For Benny Johnson, Jack Posobiec, for any of these people to not go after Tucker Carlson after Nick Fuentes did that is disgusting. This guy went after your best friend, supposedly wife, after you died. What does that say about these people, man?
Yeah, it says a lot.
Yeah.
It's very telling. It's absolutely very telling.
But I
I
want
do
people to
agree that
hear this. I want people to
I
hear
agree that
this.
Tucker would love to take over TPUSA. Um, and it's not just for the money. I think he loves the power and he loves the idea that he's the rainmaker. And if he was running TPUSA, he would feel like he would actually control who the next candidates are and what their policies are. He does not have that with Trump. And that's really important. He definitely has inroads with JD Vance. JD Vance has not sworn him off yet. He's so far been running cover for Tucker. So I hope JD could actually wake up and see where this is going.
It's interesting because I was having this conversation with somebody beforehand, before the show, and I was saying to them, they're a Vance person. I said, it's not that I'm not a Vance person. Well, I wasn't a Vance person. Let's be honest. I wanted Rubio as the VP, and I think we lucked out with Rubio being the Secretary of State because he's probably the best Secretary of State the United States has ever had. So we did luck out with that. But on the other hand, we got Vance as our vice president, who is not sticking, who is this has nothing to do with Israel. If you're the vice president, you're the wingman of your boss. Tucker Carlson has attacked your boss. Candace Owens has attacked your boss. Nick Fuentes has attacked your boss. Okay. If again, putting it in perspective, if people were coming after men, and he's my friend, not running for president, I would go after those people. That's what friendship does. That's what working for somebody does, is you don't come after my boss. And these people are coming after Trump. And I don't know if Trump realizes it. I got to be honest with you. I mean, the guy is so busy, man. I don't know if he doesn't think it matters or whatever it is. He put Tucker in his place before, but this is Vance's job. Vance has to be the one that says, stand down.
Yeah. Um, the first time when you said that, I was like, oh, well, maybe not. What does Vance care about Tucker? But as things go on and it becomes more and more clear what's going on here, I agree with you. I think Vance should either distance himself from Tucker, get his kid to get a new job somewhere else, some other department in the government, and distance himself from Tucker or come out publicly and make some sort of statement.
Listen, I think I you know, here's the
Tucker is off the
problem.
rails. We got to change gears. That's basically what the messaging should be. Nice guy, go put on your bow tie again and get back to where you started, or fade into obscurity. That would be ideal.
Yeah,
Side note, did you
I
see?
agree with you. Because somebody said this to me, and this is really the major issue, right? Is we see what happens when you ignore. When you ignore, the left happens. That's what happens when you ignore and you don't. I mean, Tucker is a MAGA site. I mean, it's like Tucker's Reich, and he's a MAGA site. He's like literally a parasite on MAGA.
A
And
MAGA site.
you like that, right?
Great. That's great.
It was going into the title of the show. I was just playing it before you. And but it is. He's a MAGA site. And it's like we're here to protect MAGA. All that means is we're here to protect America. That's our goal, is to protect America. And this guy does not have America's best interest, man. Man, it's like even when you think about it, like isolationists, like or I mean America lonely. You know what I mean? Like what are you thinking? What the hell are people? I mean, what is going on here? Like, did we miss a memo?
Yeah, yeah. The MAGA site. It's good. It's great. Um,
I'm glad you're on
it's
board with this now.
what's
I
interesting
am.
to me is trying to figure out how we got here, because what you're seeing is that a lot of people are latching onto this, especially on social media. I don't think in the real world, but in social media, when Tucker posts any of his ridiculous anti-Zionist nonsense, the comment section, you see all the neo-Nazis coming out, and I'm like, wow, wouldn't that tell you a little something? Like the Tucker team, go read the comments. Doesn't that tell you where you're at? But they're probably just looking at the numbers going, wow, our numbers keep going up because it's so controversial. But what he's done is he's ruined a brand that he spent 25 years building. Tucker was trusted, a trusted name in news, like Bill O'Reilly. And now he's going down the Candace route.
It's a really
And
good parallel. But
what's scary
before you
about
go
the
on,
Heritage
and
Foundation coming out with that is that's where it gets scary, because then you're normalizing it with major conservative institutions. And
yeah,
that is where it really goes wrong. Because if Tucker does it alone, if he wants to jump off a roof and commit suicide, who's going to stop him? But to have these conservative networks, these powerful conservative networks, putting up the safety nets to catch him, which won't let him die, that's where it becomes scary, because how many people are impressionable without knowing enough, going, well, if they say it, maybe it is accurate. Maybe that is right. Maybe that is true. When absolutely not. So that's where
you
it
know,
gets scary.
you asked a question though. First of all, you brought up a point, and it is an interesting parallel with O'Reilly, right? So O'Reilly got kicked out of Fox News for different reasons, but O'Reilly stayed the course. He stayed. I mean, his belief systems didn't change, and for God knows he doesn't have the same audience that Tucker has now, and God knows he doesn't have the same audience he did when he had when he was on Fox News. But he didn't sell his soul afterwards. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, who created Fox News with Roger Ailes and Hannity, you know what I mean, as being like the people that started that network. I mean,
Yeah.
if anybody should be angry, it would have been Bill O'Reilly. But I mean, he's Bill O'Reilly. He's not. He didn't just change. And so. But secondly, you asked the other question was October 7th. Somebody said this the other day. Wasn't me, and they said it released the demons. It released the demons, and we have a lot of demons right now. And you know Tucker going after Christian Zionists, it's 50 million people he just went after. You know, it's 50 million men, 50 million people. And the Heritage Foundation has the audacity to defend this and use the word globalist, which we know what that's code for. Okay. Or at least it used to be code for, just like the word
Yeah.
neocon was code for something. That's why
I
you
don't
hear
even
Dave.
buy into all the code. It's just the fact that the Heritage Foundation came out and defended Tucker is unbelievable. That type of thing is just unbelievable. And that's where it really gets scary because then you're basically saying it's okay to have neo-Nazis in the party.
Yeah,
Tucker brought Nick Fuentes in and they're defending Tucker. So you're defending bringing in neo-Nazis. That is not what you want in the party. It's not healthy for the party. You're basically going to give the midterms to the Democrats. You continue doing stuff like that. Right now, Trump's knocking it out the park on so many different levels,
amazing.
and then you have these grifters that are just ruining it. They are
That's my
literally
fear.
trying to give
That's
it to the
okay.
Democrats.
I always want to say this is I got to be honest. No doubt we love talking about different stories, and we do. You know, we care about New York, we care about Nigeria more than anything. We care about the American people more than
We care
anything.
about people, yes.
Yeah, we care about people, and you can't fake that. And anybody that listens to the show knows that. But moving forward, we're going to be having more guests on talking about this with a little bit of a different structure because I do want to get more people's opinions on this. I don't want it just to be I really want people's ideas, mend on how to stop this. If it can be stopped, I want to know how many people are actually really part of this. I want to know how many people are listening to Tucker. I want to know a lot of things that we don't have answers to yet, but I don't want to turn into the left. And I want to make sure that President Trump's legacy lives on when he's out of office. I want to make sure that he built the Abraham Accords to last. I want to make sure that everything he's put into place stays. I want to protect MAGA. That is my goal. And if I don't, if less people listen to us, doesn't matter to me. If more people listen to us, great. I don't care. Our sole mission is continuing this path that Trump is on, because
Yeah,
it's
this
like,
is this
yeah,
is not
sorry.
about numbers. I mean, after we pass several million, we stopped looking at the numbers. We're not even looking at them. It doesn't matter. This is about messaging. Um, so I am fully behind this idea of protecting MAGA. We're going to come up with something that a coalition that we're putting together exactly for that. So stay tuned on that one. On another note, Judah, did you see John Brennan lose his cool this week?
Oh yeah, that was great. A good way to end the show, by the way. Fantastic. But set it up because he was at an event, right? And it was funny. It was bald on bald.
Yeah, yeah, he was at this event at George Mason University outside of Washington D.C., basking in the adulation of his friends and assorted gullible future spooks as he sat on stage part of an intelligence panel at the Hayden Center, which is named after another one of the 51 dirty spooks who lied about
Is it Michael
Hunter
Hayden or
Biden.
Jeffrey Hayden?
Which one?
What's his first name? Hayden? Is it Michael Hayden or Jeff?
You know, I'm not sure, but I know the Hayden Center is named after the guy who was also on the panel. And he's one of the 51 spooks who lied about Hunter's laptop being Russian disinformation when they knew it wasn't. They knew it came from Hillary. It was the Steele dossier, which was all made up. So he was confronted by whistleblower Thomas Speciali during an audience edition where he goes, "Listen, this Speciali guy was also an intelligence guy for many years." And he goes, "We knew that was made up. It wasn't real. There were emails that you got stating that, and you decided to ignore that and run with it anyway. Why did you do that?" And Brennan just lost it, lost his mind. What he was saying, and this just tells you how deceitful they are. He goes, "We didn't say it. It was Russian disinformation. We
Yeah.
said it looks like Russian disinformation.
Or
It
what
has
they
all
could
the
do.
hallmarks.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's exactly the
Yeah. So
last
they
part.
play word games. So like that's
Yeah,
like Anthony Fauci going, you know, it wasn't gain of function, it just gained function. Like we weren't paying for the gain of function. It was, they changed the definition of what gain of function means so that it didn't fall within that definition. Kind of like the way the United Nations changed the definition of what famine is to make Israel, to accuse Israel of causing a famine. Now it's actually come out that those numbers were all BS and there was no famine in Gaza. So here too, Brennan is relying on the fact that the word salad that he used wasn't actual Russian disinformation. He said it looks like Russian disinformation. 51 spooks signed this thing. The whole thing was orchestrated by Anthony Blinken. I don't know how that guy has the nerve, the chutzpah to show his face in public after what he did. But these guys are still, they're still embraced. This guy's on a panel at George Mason University. This guy who orchestrated a coup against the sitting president, incoming president in Trump's first term. So it also shows how deep the rot is in these universities where they still haven't learned. I mean, George Mason University should be penalized just for having this panel and having this imbecile on it. This guy should never be on TV again. Nobody should want to listen to a thing he said because he's a bold-faced liar.
yeah.
But,
And by the way,
you
it's
know,
Michael Hayden Center for Intelligence Policy and International Security. So that's what you're referring to. As we're wrapping up, you're listen, you're 100% right. And last week you were trying to think of an actor, the bald one, and somebody gratefully that was listening to the show said you were referring to Rob Reiner. as
yes,
as
yes.
as the old as it was
Oh
like
my
meathead, like you're like going like old leftist actor. That's it's like in my head I'm like like there are a lot of old leftist actors out there, and then like somebody said I think he's talking about Rob Reiner, and I was like, oh my god,
Absolutely.
thank
Spot
you.
on. There's nothing worse than an old dumb guy talking and protesting without even knowing what the hell they're talking about. There's nothing worse than
Well,
that.
you know what his nickname was on Archie Bunk on All in the Family was Meathead.
Yeah, well, he's still a meathead, except now he's a meathead with a cause. The
Yeah,
left loves him. They keep on having him on. Oh, let's talk to Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner does not know anything. He's an absolute moron, a
he looked like a
wealthy
moron on
moron,
Bill Maher. Bill Maher embarrassed him on the show. Bill, what's
many
great about
times,
Bill, what?
many times.
Yeah, he did the same thing with Jane Fonda, with Hanoi Jane. So, anyways, moving on, we got to come to a close. We missed
One
Golan
last thing before
terribly.
we close is that Bill Gates has now changed his mind and said climate change is not going to be the end of the world for us. Oh, look at that. After the world spent billions of dollars in this climate change uh, swap and trade scam. And I'm not saying that climate change is the scam. I'm saying the way that and this Trump says the same thing, the way that they're trying to address climate change is a scam. So nobody's arguing whether or not climate change is real or not, man made, natural. Who cares about that? We know that there is something going on with the environment, and it might be natural and it might be just cyclical and it might be something that we've caused and it might be something that we've partially caused. One volcano or one California wildfire is the equivalent of driving 10 billion cars for 10 billion years. So do we really affect this or not? That's a whole other discussion.
Well, that's a
What they
great.
are
Okay,
saying,
you know what? Let's have the discussion tomorrow. God willing, Golan's back. But the point you're bringing up is absolutely a really good point because this is something I've said often. It's their religion, right?
it's a religion, and they've convinced these kids not to have kids because they think that the world is coming to an end, and they are all so wrong, so foolish. It's like idiots following idiots.
Yeah,
And it
one.
actually makes sense because if the Democrats are not getting people to procreate, where are they going to get voters from? Open borders.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And pleasure doing this with you today.
We
Wish
miss
Golan was
Golan.
here.
Golan, feel better, brother.
Yeah, get better. And yeah, really, please get better. And I just want to say this to the people out there. It's okay to speak up. I know it's scary, uh, speaking out against this. Speaking out against the Tucker Carlsons and all these people. I know it's scary because nobody wants to be the buzzkill. Everybody wants to go with the flow. And if we don't speak up, look at the left. That's what happens when we don't speak up. And Mend, I wish I was wrong. I wish you were saying to me, I wish today you would have said to me, "Hey, Judah, you're a jackass. You were wrong about what you were saying was going to come true." I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I have zero joy in you saying to me, "Hey, Judah, I think you were right about Vance." Okay.
Yep. Um, Tucker is now the AOC of the right. Tucker's the Mendomni of the right. You're right. If we don't speak up, like the people on the left did not talk up when AOC was running. You know, Nancy Pelosi made a couple of statements, but that anyone could win in her district doesn't matter with a D in front of their name. But they let that go. And look where that party is now.
And
Now you
you know what's
have
funny?
a,
I spoke up, Mend. I was warning them because I did
yeah,
not
but
want
you're
to
not,
see
you
that
weren't
this,
in their party.
right.
And you're making a great point is that if the people in our party don't speak up, we're going to have the same thing. It's going to be taken over by the radicals. And next thing you know, you're going to have Nick Fuentes running a city. Do you
Yeah.
want that? Is that what we need? That's not healthy for America.
Well said. Amen. On that note, I want to thank everybody that's been listening and following. We missed you on Friday. Sometimes health comes in the way. Uh, Everybody out there that's struggling, God bless you. Everybody out there that's following us, thank you from the bottom of our hearts, and stay on this track with us because it's going to get exciting. And we're in this for the long haul. MAGA. We got to preserve what Trump. We, it's not going to be politicians that preserve President Trump's legacy. It's going to be the people that voted him in and that care about MAGA and that don't try to divide and destroy MAGA. So, men, I'm glad you are fully on board. Again, go on, get well. I want to thank. I already said that, and since we can't edit it, who cares? Go to the dailycheatsheet.com. That's the dailycheatsheet.com. I want to wish everybody a good morning, afternoon, and night world, wherever you are. God bless you all.